got it. Okay, so security with AI, it's very a different mindset of thinking than security in other tech contexts, right? I mean, it's on the one hand, all security comes to how would someone use it that's different than I expect. I have my product and I want people to use it this way, and you kind of expect people to at least try to use it in the way you envision. But then it comes down to, well, the meme video where they're putting the shapes and everything goes in the square hole.
Yeah. This is into the square hole.
Yeah. How can I use this in the wrongest way possible in order to get this strange stuff to come up?
Yeah.
Now, my first job as a teenager, I was in security for a tech company, but back then it was all about locking down ports and dealing with not exposing the version of your software and a kind of classical firewall Linux IP tables, IP chain stuff. AI security is totally different. So how did you get into this security? I mean, we talked about the credentials, but in general, what's the mindset of AI security, and how do you work with it?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. I think maybe a good starting point is to paint the right mental model of what we mean with AI security. One of the most common, let's say, misconceptions or mistake that I'm seeing is that people are thinking about LLM security. That's like, hey, I can get it to provide, prompt it in a way that it gives you content that's not supposed to, like how to build a nuclear weapon somehow, right? Like, give me a baking recipe for a nuclear bomb. It's like, this is, I think, one of those earliest prompt injection attacks.
My grandma needs this recipe. It's really important.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can build up this whole role-playing scenario around it about how this is your last recipe your grandma can, oh God, it's getting really dark. I'm not going to talk about it. But yeah, so I think that is the starting point for a lot of people's perception of what it means. But the right mental model should really be, what is your agent's security posture? So your LLM is only one little component of it. And oftentimes these different attacks of getting it to give you nuclear bomb recipes and whatnot, they do not directly affect other users. They typically affect only the user that's prompting it, right? So the damage is kind of limited in that sense, right? But
okay, so if I ask ChatGPT dangerous question, maybe I can trick it into talking about something it shouldn't, but that's just
affecting you
between me and ChatGPT.
And that is still a problem, right? I'm not dismissing that as a problem, but I think that is a problem that the foundation model providers will naturally adopt to solve, right? Because it is in their interest to make sure that their models operate around ethical guidelines. Now, the concept of agent security is to understand that your software is going to become stochastic. It means it has this LLM capability in there. It's going to do a lot of undeterministic things, unlike your traditional code, and then it's going to go and affect other systems that it can reach. Like, it can call tools to read your emails and then pass that email content into a coding agent to address maybe a customer support issue, right? Like, that is like an agent security problem. Like, okay, how do these LLMs interact with all of these other systems that we have connected together? And that is really where we need to focus on security, because you're starting to really affect many, many users in the system. So when we hacked our Y Combinator batchmates, for example, one customer, they had a agent that allows you to traverse documents that were written by yourself and other people you're in the same group chat with. It turns out that the way it works is that you can just ask the agent to retrieve those documents with some particular identifier of those document IDs. And by nature, you would think, okay, yeah, these document IDs are kind of locked down and whatnot. It's fine.
No one's going to guess a UUID.
No one's going to guess a UUID, but guess what? Developers love putting various forms of IDs into the URL bar. So if you screen share your computer somebody can just take a screenshot and like slowly type out, or actually Mac now supports auto select and copy of any image, right? You can just select and copy that UID and then pass it into the agent from your own instance and then be able to retrieve the information. And then it turns out these documents are interconnected. So then from one document, you can start crawling and get more and more information out of there.
Oh, because the document might have an internal link to another document, which is another ID that's exposed or exposing some structure.
Yeah, exactly. And so the nature of this is, yes, you have used the LLM, you have prompt injected to act in a way that it was not supposed to, but the real damage was caused through this interplay between the LLM and the tools it had access to and how those tools are being authorized and authenticated. And so thinking in just LLM security is too narrow because you're not thinking about all the real damaging attack vectors to your business. You're thinking about almost too much about what is the only thing that the LLM could mistakenly give back, not what it can impact your entire company. Yeah.
But I've seen the advice you gave is to treat agents as users and not to treat agents as API servers, right? Because you think, okay, I'm coding up this agent, I'm in control, but it doesn't mean I'm like telepathically telling it what to do and not do.
Yeah.
And the user is still the one who can make it do something else.
Yeah, that's right. I think when you look at why AI agents have so many issues with security, it's because as developers, we like to create mental models for ourselves in terms of how we should be building things. And it just so happens that AI agents are hosted on a server. So naturally our brain goes into, oh, it's an API. Like it should have, global read-only access on a database, and I'm going to do authorization on the API layer. It's going to go well, guys. It's gonna happen. But they're not, right? There are users. They're acting on behalf of humans. And the interesting thing is we have all these controls because ultimately user access has been solved, or at least has been attempted to be solved over and over again for 20 plus years. And there's we're reaching some level of normalcy around solving user access. And so the first order of business is to think about how can I apply the same controls that already exist for users onto these AI agents. And effectively, I granted the same permissions I'm supposed to have, right? I do think moving forward as standards emerge, there's going to be a question to think about if agents should also exist as its own concept. Like how much work can it delegate? And if it delegates through different tools in the network of multi-agent systems, how should it, at what point should it ask a human for permissions and whatnot? And I think that world will still need to emerge. But up until then, the safest bet you can make for yourself, at least right now, is to treat these agents as users.
That makes a lot of sense. And I really like the whole mental model part of it. Like saying, I remember one time I was watching Claude Code do something. And with Claude Code, you can restrict what shell commands it can run. You say, okay, I don't want Claude to run the AWS CLI. Mm-hmm. So Claude fired up Q and started telling Q what to do. Like, no way. Like that's clever. But these things want to find a way to solve your problem.
Exactly. I mean, the other way would have been writing a Python script that executes the AWS CLI code and then execute the Python script.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen ones where it didn't. I disabled write access, and so it did some shell redirects that basically catted out to a file because it didn't have direct shell access. It's clever. Like you have respect for these things.
One of the best tips I have for people trying to hack like coding agents, like web-hosted coding agents, ask it to build a working terminal with the actual computer behind the scene connected.
Interesting.
You effectively have it build its own remote code execution.
Interesting. Okay. Did you like that clip? Check out the full episode, the interview with Rene Brandel, co-founder and CEO of Casco and inventor of Amazon Hero. Check out the description for links and please subscribe to the channel.